Two, one. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Failure Friday, where we talk to friends, clients, and total strangers about what they perceive as failures in their life and how they have used that to propel them forward in some way, make them a better person, better business owner, better mom. And today we have a very good friend of mine. She is also a mom. She used to own a bakery. Now I think she's just focusing on being a mom because she's been through some shit. She also used to be my neighbor. That's how I met her. Her name is Christine. Thank you so much for coming, Christine. I love you. I miss you.
Thank you. I miss you so much.
I know Christine moved to Louisiana. It is her second or third move since I've met you.
Oh, gosh.
3 years ago.
So I moved once again in Florida, and I've moved twice here in Louisiana because of the hurricane.
Three.
So, yep. Been a hot few months.
Literally been 3 moves. She has 2 beautiful daughters, Scarlett and Violet. She just informed me that Violet is now working on her skin routine in her bathroom. Violet is 9 years old, and she uses way better skin products than I do. So I guess that's something I need to look forward to. And same, we were just talking about, like, we literally just wipe our face with a baby wipe if we have time at night. Yep. Scarlett's got, what's the name of the product she's using?
So Violet's like using like CeraVe and then like this Pixie toner stuff from Target. But like she lines it up, and she's got one for like calming, like sensitive skin. And she does her whole thing. I mean, it's adorable.
Do you use a toner?
I don't use.
I'm not even sure what it does.
So it's supposed to like clarify and like cleanse the extra dirt and excess oil that you have on your skin, like that your makeup remover doesn't get. But like, I mean, I'm literally using like CeraVe like wipes or baby wipes for my face. And then the occasional trip for Botox. Like, that's all I got. My kid
she's
is
gonna look like she's
out.
9 years old and when she's 60.
I know. I'm like, can you just do mine?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick to Botox.
Nice. Yeah, it's just
I'll stick to Botox. It really is.
Yeah.
So Christine has a very similar personality to me, very direct, absolutely no filter, which made us getting along really fucking easy. It's also why I'm really excited to have her on. She's a really good storyteller. I'm sure she's going to go into some deep shit. So Christine, what personal experience are you going to share with people today that you perceive as a failure that you turned into something where you fell forward?
So I would probably have to go with my marriage or my ex-marriage. I was married for 11 years to the love of my life that I thought. And it was a very, very tough marriage for me. I came from a Catholic background of, divorce is never an option. So you just fight it through, you figure it out. And I found out that I was actually married to someone who had an addiction problem. And it was an addiction that was hidden for a very long time. Looking back, like, it really wasn't that hidden. But I guess just not being mentally strong enough to kind of like peel back those onion layers when I suspected things that were a little off. But finding out how off they really were when I opened that can of worms was quite devastating, especially with 2 young ones. We had, Scarlett was only, 6 months old, I think, whenever I started the process of our separation and moving forward with that. So yeah, that would be it.
I didn't realize Scarlett was so young. For reference, Scarlett is almost 5 now?
No, she's 5. She'll be 6 in April. So, let's see. Right before I gave birth to her, I actually knew he had a problem. But I did not know it was to the extent that it was. But I ended up having to hide my pain pills and actually throw them out before I went home from my recovery of my C-section for Scarlett, because I knew it would cause an argument, because I knew he would take them. No matter where I'd hide them, he'd find them. It's always been that way. But when I sent him to rehab, when I decided to leave, this was like in 2017 that I filed, but I sent him to a rehab, I think like in October, maybe a little sooner than that, in 2017. And I realized he was addicted to quite a bit more than that. And it was quite devastating to hear, knowing how broken he was and how broken our marriage was. And I could not save that, no matter what I did.
Yeah, I'm glad you chose to talk about this, because now I can tell how we actually met. So my mom was visiting. I don't remember why she was here. There's many reasons why she comes here. She was visiting, and my mom told most people, the neighbors outside, they are not safe. And Christine's mom was staying at her house, and she was walking, and my mom was just outside looking for a conversation. And Christine's mom and my mom got to talking. And moms, I don't know if it's just my mom and your mom, but if they find someone who's going to listen, they're going to tell all your damn business.
Like vomit your shit. I mean, like all diarrhea of the mouth to no
all
end.
Of it. And then they don't tell you. And then all of a sudden you meet a complete stranger. They're like, oh yeah, your mom told me that like you did this when you were in college and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, so that's what happened. And her mom literally laid out the land like, oh yes, my daughter, husband's a drug addict, went to work every day, didn't really go to work every day. And now she's leaving him. She has 2 young children, and she needs to learn about finance because she has no idea what's going to happen or what's going on or what she's going to get or what she can get or what's even there. Can my daughter eventually talk to your daughter? And my mom was like, yeah, sure. She's not doing anything. Send her over. So about 2 days go by and I get a knock on my door and it's Christine. And that's how I met her.
Oh man, I totally forgot that. I mean, I like went on your doorstep, like vomiting the same probably amount that my mom did. But my mom was like, you have to go talk to this girl. Like, she's really good at what she does. And I think she can help you. She's used to dealing with people, who work in the NFL and all these things. And I just think she could help you. And I'm like, I don't need any help. I'm good. But then finally, I think because I was so overwhelmed with, being a caretaker for the girls for so long, looking back, I feel almost like I was groomed for our marriage. And I didn't even know, because he never wanted me to work ever. He really didn't want me to finish my college degree. It was like, just stay home. We have the funds, do all these things. And I was young, stupid. And I did those things. So when divorce came on the table, I'm thinking, what am I going to do? Like, I mean, what job am I going to get? I did not finish to get my college degree. I have 2 little girls. And now I have this giant divorce that's probably not going to go very smoothly. It was very intimidating. So going to you was like, you pointed me in the direction of a great attorney and just gave me peace of knowing like, hey, this happens and you will get through it. You just have to get through it. But I also remember texting you so many times, like, I can't do it anymore. This is too hard.
I'm so glad you took my advice when you sent me those text messages, because there was a few times where I was really concerned about your mental health. But that is characteristic of so many divorces. But also, I think what else was weighing so heavy on you is that you were just holding this massive secret, and you have 2 girls that are, one of them's at the brink of the age where she's old enough to ask questions like, what the hell is going on? Like, she was like 7 and advanced, like very advanced for her age. So she was like very aware of, all right, where's dad? Like, he was here and now he's not. And he keeps saying he's on vacation, but it's been like a year. So what's up, mom?
Yeah, she didn't buy into it at all. We told her it was work because I didn't want to trauma until I knew what was going to happen legally going forward. And with him being in rehab, sending him to rehab, we told her that he was on work. But she's just so smart. She's such an old soul. And like, knowing that I had to be more real with her, with a therapist's help, of course, I think it was extremely hard and heartbreaking because I felt like her innocence was taken. And that's what I think was probably my hardest battle, during the whole thing. You can give me anything between him and I, but I think dealing with her was probably my biggest challenge. Not because she was poorly behaved, but because it was changing everything about her life in which she knows is safe and taking that completely from her. And that's a really hard pill to swallow as a mom, because every mom pictures to raise their children in a loving home, a safe environment. Doesn't matter your house size, your income size, it's just you want happy. And when you take that, that's really, really hard to accept that you fail at that. Even though I didn't fail, I just couldn't fix, is how I look at it.
Right. And I think perhaps, and you correct me if I'm wrong, what you might perceive as failure is, how could I have done this earlier? Right? Like what red flags did I ignore, maybe even on purpose, that could have resulted in me starting this process earlier, whether it would have benefited you financially or not to start it earlier. But
100%. But then I look back too.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
But then I look back too, and I'm thinking I mentally was not ready until when I did
That's
it.
fair. That's fair.
I know if I did it any earlier, because think about it, Scarlett, I was postpartum. You know, Scarlett was not an easy baby. She had colic like crazy. She was very clingy. But looking back too, I think she picked up on my energy, which is fair.
For sure. I
mean, you can only hide so much, but I mean, babies, I was told recently that babies, what is it? They live off of your energy, and they feel that to the core basically until they're 4.
Oh, wow.
They feel what you feel. So we can try and hide all day long that like, oh, mommy's happy, but like truthfully they just know, because they're so connected to you. And so having Scarlett, I was just not mentally stable, I think, to do it then. And then when I knew I would have to like really do it. And I think that was just, I did it when I was supposed to do it.
I agree with that. I mean, as someone who's been in an incredibly toxic relationship, and people that have never been in a truly toxic situation, first of all, God bless you if you haven't, because I feel like more people have than haven't. But part of that, I remember people telling me so many times through the 2.5 to 3 years that was happening, why don't you just leave? Like, I don't understand why you keep staying. You have to be mentally, it is like a prison that you put yourself in. You lose your sense of self. You lie to yourself. You isolate yourself. You lie to people around you. You create this pretty little box. You can't just leave that pretty little box. That means you've been lying this whole time. You've built this entire story for yourself that part of you truly believes, and you have to be ready to shit on that entire story and tell yourself, hey, this is never going to get better. This is never going to change. You have to be in that place to leave for good. And most of the time, and I didn't see this in your situation, but I went back probably 20 times when I shouldn't have gone back until I was ready to leave. Then I ran away to Europe. But
it's the same thing as an addict. Think about it though. It's like you're almost addicted to the chaos in your relationship.
100%.
So you have to like break free for like a 30-day cleanse basically before your body and your mind start to remember like, okay, like no, that's not okay, and I don't have to do that. And I always felt guilty too, because like he never hit me. He was never mean to me. I mean, I was very, very lucky in those ways that I was not physically abused. It was the mental abuse that was the mind games, the where's the money? Why is this missing? What is this doing? Who is this person? Those things that mess with you so much that then you start to think you're the problem. And you're like, well.
I don't know if anyone, and I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for saying this, but whatever. I don't know if any one of those is harder than the other. I think it depends on the person, because I have a pretty high pain tolerance. And I remember in the thick of it, in my situation, that it wasn't the getting hit that I kind of got used to that, right? Like I would look forward to the argument. This is so fucked up. I would look forward to the argument because I knew exactly what I had to do to get him to hit me after a while. Like I literally, in my scenario, I just had to ignore him. If he was asking me a question and he wanted an answer, all I had to do was ignore him, and I knew I was going to get hit. And I would do it on purpose because I wanted him to hit me, or I wanted him to slap me, or I wanted him to choke me, because I knew after he hurt me, there was like 2 or 3 days that were like heaven, Christine. It was beautiful. It was my dream relationship. That's the man I'm going to marry. That's the I'm going to have that's the man. I'm going to wait for that man to take over and become who he is every day. So, that's not real. So I think
but that
what you were doing.
Abuse, right? But that abuse
is mental. Those were the one that I was loving.
Yeah, truthfully. And I've said this many times, and I don't mean any slight towards anyone who gets hit, because I don't think I have a high pain tolerance. I think I'd probably be someone's bitch pretty quickly, if I'm being real honest. But I could never go to jail. I wouldn't make it. But
you would make it.
I mean, I would just have a lot of friends. So I just felt, honestly, like sometimes I'd pray for him to hit me, because I felt like it would hurt less than the mind game. I remember going to marriage counseling. I feel that. With him, and like, because he didn't want to have sex with me, like, ever. I mean, I would beg like a dog. I mean, it was pathetic. And I'm like, okay, like, is it because I gained weight? Is it because I lost weight? We'd go to marriage counseling, and every time we'd go, he was never honest, because I didn't even know the issue was addiction at that point. And we'd go, and he'd be like, she nags too much. So then I would scale that back. Mm-hmm. She wears granny panties to bed. Okay, first off, did not realize that non-thong was just normal size panties were granny panties. But okay, just had a baby, fine. So then I'd wear something.
You don't like my diaper.
Yeah, got it. And then it would be like, well, now she looks like a whore. I don't want to. I mean, it was just always, so it was a constant mind game on what was wrong with me. So I was constantly trying to fix things that really were not the problem. But that has bled over into my life post-divorce and dating. Oh God, is it because I said this? Is it because I'm wearing this? Is it, like all these things, because mental abuse lingers forever.
Oh, it does it. I still find myself thinking about it today way too often. It's like, how could I ever let someone have that much power over my day-to-day? Like, it makes me sick to my stomach.
Right.
I get that. I totally get that. It's
very, no matter how much therapy you receive or how many tools you're given, the mind remembers always. So it's very hard to come out of that.
How far into your marriage did you realize that did it take you to accept? You were married 11 years. At what point did you accept that he was an addict? And how many years did you lie to yourself where you knew it, but you weren't ready to accept it?
Just for viewers. Year 11 is when I accepted it.
Okay.
I knew for a fact.
Not for a fact, suspected it.
Oh, oh gosh. Oh, let's see. Violet was right before we moved into the neighborhood. So Violet had just turned out to be, Violet was 3.
Wow. That was year what?
Gosh. So we were married in 2009. Or is it 2000? Yeah, 2009. Violet was born in 2012. And so, 16?
So
15? Yeah. I'm awful at math. And I knew it because we were moving into the neighborhood, and our old neighbor, our kids would play together. I loved it. I was so sad to leave. And all of a sudden she kind of got weird with me. And I'm like, she canceled a play date. And she was kind of like one of the first good mom friends I had in Florida. And so I had texted her and like, hey, is there something I did to upset you? Is it because we're moving? Like, what is it? And she was like, I didn't want to tell you because you don't want to cause a problem, but your husband came over and asked my husband for some pain pills. And we told him we didn't have any. And then he asked to go to the bathroom and he stole them.
Ooh.
And I'm like, no, he didn't. I'm like, girl, crazy. But my gut was like, you need to look into that. So
what did you actually say?
I was devastated.
Were you defensive?
No, I wasn't. Because I could not say without a shadow of a doubt that he didn't do that. Because I just didn't trust him enough to say for sure. So I remember asking him, and of course it's like, oh my God, no, I'm allergic to that. I wouldn't even take. And he'd always tell me, I'm allergic to that. I can't take that. Why would I take that? And I'm like, well, if he's allergic to it, who am I to know or say? Right. So like, he, sure enough, stole those pills and ruined a great friendship with our children and me and her. And so moving into the neighborhood where you're at, it was like a fresh start of like, okay, like we can do this. And then it was just little things after little things. I mean, writing checks to what I thought was our marriage or not our marriage counselor, to his therapist, was actually his dealer. That was a really hard pill to swallow for a really long time.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that. So there was about 3 years of suspect, but not ready to accept. And then there was 2 years of full-fledged, I know this is happening, not ready to leave. And then finally year 11 comes around and it's all right. What was the final straw, or was there a final straw that you were like, okay?
Final straw was my mom, my stepdad, and myself and him. We took a trip to Chicago, and I was like, okay, fine, like an adult's trip, it'll be fun. And I remember him going to the bathroom a lot at this pizza place. And I remember looking at my dad's eyes, because he always told me his eyes looked dilated because they were lighter colored. So if he was in the sunlight. So I bought into that because, stupid. And so I remember him going to the bathroom and him coming back and his pupils just being so fucking big. And I was like, they were not that big when he left to go to the bathroom. And I was like,
wow. Does that happen?
Yep.
Is that what happens?
Yep. Depending on what you take. So
like a damn EMT.
Yeah. I basically, between that and infertility, I can basically do IVF for somebody else. And, So
I'm like looking at my pupils right now to see what's happening.
I know, like it'll really mess with you. And so I remember looking at him and being like, something is off. Well, he kept like nodding off on the trip. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're not drunk. And I'm like, I know I'm not that boring. I'm like, what the hell? And so we went out to dinner one night, a nice dinner. And he said he had to leave early to go handle some work stuff. And I'm like, whatever. I go back to the hotel room, and the hotel was like, the latch was on his side. So my room key, I couldn't open the door. And I'm like, hello, like open it up. It's me, blah, blah. And I don't hear anything. And then I like get the door like jarred open a little bit, and I see his feet like dangling on the bed. And I'm like, get up. Like, what are you doing? And like after 15 minutes of me looking like a psychopath in the Trump Hotel in Chicago, it was a really pretty look. He opens the door and he's like, oh, sorry, I fell asleep. And I'm like, what the fuck did you fall asleep from? And he's like, oh, I don't feel good, blah, blah. So he like runs to the bathroom to go vomit. And I'm like, I know you're on shit. You're on something. I don't know what it is. And he's like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. So he argued with me and he's like, I'm going downstairs to smoke. He was gone for 6 hours.
Oh my God.
In Chicago, I track his phone. He's at the hospital.
Oh,
my. Answering me. And I'm thinking, but I didn't give two shits enough to get in the car to go either.
He OD'd.
Because I thought, fuck it. He put himself there. Deserves it.
So knew.
He comes home. I knew then. I knew he was either one, fiending because he needed his next hit and he couldn't get it, or he OD'd and he made himself sick. I found out the next.
That could have been what it was.
Yep, I found out the next morning from the woman downstairs that he was vomiting downstairs in the middle of the hotel, and they had to call an ambulance for him. I was mortified.
So the ambulance knew right away.
Oh yeah, his response was, my Crohn's was acting up. I'm like, okay. Well, and so he went as far as calling the nurse station at the hospital to have them explain to me what was going on, because I wasn't buying it.
Mm-hmm.
And the nurse said, "Sir, you know why you were here. I'm not going to sit here and babysit you and help you tell your wife." And she hung up. And I was like, either you go to rehab when we get home, or I'm filing for divorce before I leave the state of Chicago. And he said, I'll go to rehab. And he's like, but I have to get home to get my neck. I'm out of pills and I have to get some. So I need to fly back home early. He left me that hour to fly back home to get high next. Mm-hmm.
So and then he was going through withdrawals. That's why I went to the hospital.
Yep. I knew we were done. Absolutely. And I told him he couldn't come back in the house until he went to rehab. So he was at home when I got there. He wouldn't answer my texts or calls. He thought, I guess, I was going to like calm down by the time I got home. And I just got further angry. And I'm not a person that does well with distance when there's an altercation. I'm one that like wants to solve it. And because he didn't even bother to tell me if he was safe or anything like that, that's a lot of worry for a wife to worry about. And so we did end up finding him a rehab facility. And he did go, but he had his dealer check him out on like day 4. And when I found that out, I was like, don't ever step foot back in this house. Like, we're past the point of done. Because people are going to fall short always. I'm not perfect. I didn't expect him to be. I would honestly have stuck it out had he gotten the help, because I think this all stems back from childhood issues.
For sure.
Mental health,
everything does.
Right. And I can't be your mom. I can't go back and fix all that, but I can help you grow forward. But I will not stay in one spot with you and go down with you, especially when we have children. That's not an option.
So it sounds like you didn't do a lot of back and forth, take him back as much as I originally thought.
No. And that's why, like, I knew, because I had to know that when I made that choice, there was not one thing left I could do to help. And when I offered to send you to rehab, when I get you the therapy you need, I mean, he was blessed financially. Help was not an issue for him. Most people don't have that blessing that are addicts. And an addict who will never run out of money is even worse.
Oh, he had more money than he knew what to do with. I remember seeing some of those checks and it was just like, how are you alive?
Right. So like most addicts hit dead end.
Like y'all, I'm talking some of your yearly salaries he was spending in a month on drugs. Like it's crazy that he is alive.
Absolutely crazy. I mean, no rehab facility I've ever talked to has been able to be like, I mean, they flat out said, we have no idea how he's made it, like at all. And so I knew, if you don't want me to hold your hand and help you get there, we're done. Because I didn't even see who I was as a human being anymore. I was literally just a shell walking around. My life was so filled with chaos day to day. Simple things of like, he'd come in with a Burger King cup in his hand. I'd be like, oh, you had Burger King for lunch? No, I didn't. Burger King cup. Oh, no. That cup was in my truck and I actually went to water. Like, I mean, it's just a lie after lie that it messes with your head so much. It's a mind fuck.
And you become paranoid, right? You're like, is this real? Am I overreacting?
Yes.
I mean, it's just, you start to think I'm the one going crazy. Like, it's not, I'm crazy too. How am I ever, I have to stay with crazy because I'm crazy
because
too.
I thought, who the hell's going to put up with me if I am such a nagger? Or if I do wear these granny panties? Like, I thought like maybe, and honestly, I thought too, because we were blessed financially, I felt like this was almost like my penalty in life. You know, like how you have to like give and take. So I always thought infertility was it. Like, God blessed you so much financially, but he's going to give you this battle. So that's like the, compromise.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that because in my mind, all the time, because I am also just so blessed in so many ways. All the time I'm like, things are going so good and they have been for a long time. What's my next trial? Because it's got to be a big one. And I worry about that. And it's not even something that you need to be worried about because it hasn't happened yet. You don't know what's going to happen. But so I get that. That's the first time someone else has ever said that. So that was, I've always
felt that way. And I always felt like that was my debt to God. Not that he was punishing me, but because he blessed me in so many other ways that, like, maybe I was sent here to help him. Maybe I'm sent here to do this. Maybe I went through infertility because, you know, other people who have those struggles, they couldn't afford to do IVF. God bless me, I could. So being told you can't get pregnant was not a dead end for me. It is for most people. And I was super blessed that was not my ending at all. And so, yeah, it just felt like that was just the baggage I was supposed to carry. And not carrying that baggage is the most peaceful, freeing feeling I've ever had in my entire life. I can't remember the last time I was this happy. Probably not since I was like 10, doing Violet's facial routine.
I'm so happy to hear that, because I definitely saw you at some of your breaking points. And hear you, I haven't heard you say that yet. So that is awesome. That almost makes me want to cry right now.
Like I always said, even right after I left him, my bed felt warmer alone than it did with him in it. Always. And I still feel to this day, as I'm on my journey of dating hell in your 30s, that nothing can ever be as hard as that was. So now I know what to look for, what I don't want. But also, I'm really just fucking happy by myself.
Yes. And you also, I mean, we're not throwing numbers out there, obviously, but you came away from that divorce because you stuck through it. You're okay. You and the girls are okay. You don't have to replace someone financially. So you have the freedom to make healthier choices as well. A lot of women don't have that. They do what you could have done. They just get so stressed out and they're at their breaking point and they just give in. Like, fuck it. I don't need anything. Just get me out of this situation. Luckily, you didn't do that. And you're at a place where you can really recreate a future for your girls. You can take your time. You can court and date.
Right.
And you're not rushed.
I feel so extremely blessed because I know my case is not the normal. By far, never will be. I know how great I have it, but that came with a really big price tag, and that was my mental stability. That, and not just mine, my little girls. I would have taken a man with no money who was honest and kind versus what I was given any day of the week, all day long, for the rest of my life. Money does not buy you happiness. Nope. It never will. And it cannot give my daughters back their innocence. They've had to grow up really early and learn really harsh things about the world that no 7-year-old should ever have to hear. Yeah. But in order for my daughter, my oldest, to keep her trust in me, I had to be truthful with her through and through. And that still holds true to our relationship to this day. I mean, if I know she's going to the doctor and she's going to get a swab or a shot, it's very much, yes, that's what you're going to do. I don't lie, I don't hide it, because she needs consistency and honesty because someone took that from her and broke that completely. So,
right, and that's a kid by kid basis. Not every kid's going to respond the way Violet did. Violet, not at all. From someone on the outside that's met her, she was asking so many direct questions throughout the process. She'd ask me questions and I'd be like, "Ooh, sister, you need to talk to your mom." Because right. I mean, some kids, their defense mechanism is just to be aloof, or maybe they're not even focused on that right now. And luckily, those kids, it's not going to have as drastic of an effect, right? Because they're not concerned with those matters. But Violet was tuned in. She would try to listen to our conversations. So with her, you had to. Yeah, it's not going to get any better. With her, you had to be real with. So, and I think
And we weren't like, I wasn't like, hey, your dad's a crackhead. That's not where I went. It was very much like, you know, for anybody out there struggling.
Eventually you had to tell her it's drugs.
Oh, yes, but this was done also with a therapist, you know, in tow. So it wasn't just like I read a book and was like, I know what I'm doing, because I don't know what I'm doing as a parent at all. Both my kids are polar opposite. If I would have had Scarlett first, I would have never had another child. Hands down.
She does come off like a serial killer when you first meet her.
Resting bitch face is real hard for her. That's never going to change. But like, she is strong as hell. Violet is very smart. She's very empathetic. She's very sympathetic. She's so kind. And so for her, it went to like, hey, if daddy daddy has something in his brain that makes him take a lot of anything. So what do you think would happen if daddy drank a bunch of Coca-Cola? She's like, well, he'd get sick. And I'm like, okay. Like, so daddy takes medicine that is not really his medicine. And her first response to me was, is that why he nods off on the couch all the time? She was 4.
Mm-hmm. That
was gut-wrenching that she noticed probably before I even did. She probably could have diagnosed him too.
So I think that part of this podcast is one, having these really deep conversations, but also helping viewers that are potentially in the same situation. So there's a couple of questions I have in relation to that. When you found out, what was the process that you took? And if it wasn't the correct process, or you wish you would have done something different, what is the correct process? Hi, Scarlett. That you wish you would have taken with the girls to get them? Did you immediately get them in therapy? Did you try to do it yourself? Did you read any books? What were those books? What did you do when it came to the kids in this situation, so someone can learn from that?
So my first step was getting an attorney. I think that was my hardest battle. You know that. I got an attorney in the beginning that was underqualified for my case. I think finding someone, depending on your situation, but divorcing somebody who's an addict is really, really hard to do. Prior to me filing, he had no record. After me filing, he created a very pretty rap sheet for himself. That helped. But if you have someone who doesn't have that, you have to go through a lot of hoops. So finding a good attorney was my hardest feat. And then I immediately got therapy for Violet, because she's turning into a little girl that I did not recognize. She was angry at me, and that was okay, because she didn't understand why. You know, her dad was gone and we had just had a baby. All these things were different and I was a mess. But I hid my pain a lot from her. And I feel like I did that wrong, because now that she's older, she thinks I'm Superwoman and she compares herself to me all the time. And I'm learning this in her therapy. And because she didn't see me break down. It's not okay for your child to pick you up every day and wipe your tears, but it is 100% okay for your child to see you hurting, because then they can feel safe to do the same. Wow. And Violet did not feel safe. Violet put those little emotions in a box, and then that box would burst 2-3 times a week on random things that didn't make sense. And it's because when you saw me, I was a fucking disaster. When my girls saw me, I was mom. And she made a comment recently, like, well, you're perfect. And I'm like, the hell? I'm like, you just saw me eating Cheetos with like a baggy shirt and Cheetos in my hair and crying over like a date. And she's like, but you always pull it together. And I needed her to know that, yes, I do pull it together, but that process between me falling and pulling it together is really fucking ugly. So I'm starting to let her see my pain more, because it makes her feel like her pain is okay. And she sees that I come out on the other side, and that's healthy. That's what you want them to see. And so I think that was one of my biggest mistakes, and counseling for her. And I didn't do counseling for myself as fast as I should have.
Yes, I remember that. I was hoping you would have said that.
Yes. I focused on the kids because that is your job as a mom. You always put anybody and everybody before yourself. But I was reminded by you, by my mom, strangers at Target that who saw me crying in the wine aisle, that you have to take care of yourself before you can even begin to take care of them correctly. And when you're in the throes of hell, you have to find time for yourself. Even if that's just, going outside for a good cry. If it weren't for my nanny, God bless her.
Oh, shout out to Emily, bro. She is an angel.
Emily is probably, if she were a lesbian, I think I'd switch teams for her. I'm not joking. She was amazing. She held it down. That woman picked me up and hid it from my kids so well for me when I didn't care if I lived that day, but she made sure my kids did. And she made sure that they were loved and they were happy and that I could fall apart safely when I had her. So when she wasn't there, I was able to be strong enough for them to do the correct thing for parenting. So I think that some people suggested going to AA meetings. I never did it. And I'm going to tell you why, which to each his own. After going through that, I have a very zero tolerance for addiction in general. I do know it's a disease. I do respect that. I don't wish people harm, but I'm not going to sit here and listen to that when addicts are addicts. The only thing they care about is them and their next fix, not anything in the process. And it's not because they're hateful human beings. It's because it is a disease. And I knew if I sat in a room with other people who are addicts or ex-addicts trying to convince me otherwise, I'd probably be on the news. So I felt like it was best I did not do that.
I'm surprised someone suggested that because I feel like that would be very triggering for you. I guess maybe they're coming from a place to help you show empathy towards these people, but
well, and they do have meetings for spouses of addicts and stuff like that, so I could relate to others.
Okay.
But I feel, and because I had many friends going through divorces at the same time as me, I was the only one who was going through a divorce with an addict. So no one really had any advice to give. Cheating is common, unfortunately. It's being talked about more. I've noticed since I've probably moved here, I've heard of different scenarios from different people, friends or not friends or strangers or whatnot, that they think their partner might be an addict. They are looking into all these things and it's now becoming more talked about. And I feel like it should be because there is a stigma. You don't want, my biggest fear was my girls not getting invited to play dates because of his problem. Because when he did get arrested, I'm going to be honest. Had I not gone through what I went through, I'd be a little snotty about it. Not going to lie. You don't want your kids around that kind of chaos and bullshit. Going through what I went through, I am not as judgmental. I'll tell you that much. It definitely humbles you quite a bit.
Skipping to my next question. Slow down.
Oh, sorry.
So before we go to that question, from the perspective of how can we help people with your scenario, what were some red flags in the beginning, in the purgatory of you? I'm not 100% sure, but I'm definitely suspecting some shit's going down. What were some red flags that you ignored that if you could go back and talk to Christine in 2015, 16, you'd be like, don't ignore that? Less obvious ones.
Well, so Benadryl bottles and NyQuil, we'd have a shit ton of empty ones, but they'd be randomly hid throughout the house. And the reasoning was, I have been having a really hard time sleeping. A whole 30 fucking days worth of sleeping. It's been when did you get this? Oh, babe, I got that a year ago. So you gotta let that go. I found a pen cap in the bathroom by the toilet. I thought, that's weird. My kids don't write in pen. I haven't written in pen in forever because I'm a mom. I'm doodling shit with crayons, not mine. And it was in the bathroom and it was perfectly placed.
So it didn't fall?
No. So I brought it up and he's like, what would I do with a pen cap? I mean, I've never done drugs. I mean, I think I tried marijuana like once or twice in high school. No, not even high school. Sorry, Mom, college. And, you know, I asked him about it. He was like, no, I wouldn't do anything. I thought like, okay, maybe you'd use it for like cocaine or something. And then the next day that pen cap was there again. So I'm like, fuck. Like,
what an idiot.
Are you messing with me? Yeah, right. Like, hide it somewhere
She
else.
told you what she suspected.
Because he was the moneymaker. I mean, I paid the bills, but I didn't really pay attention to so much of what was coming in, what was going out for a while.
Because why would
until
you?
then I realized, until I realized, like, why are we out of money? Like, we just had X amount in the bank yesterday, and now we're negative X amount, and I haven't done shit. And the excuses were always like, oh, I paid this person, it's fine. Like, I got you a painting ordered. It's special. It's coming. I never received any gift that was ever promised. So that was a huge red flag. Because he'd used giant lump sums of money for my gifts, and those gifts were drugs for him. The nodding off. That was a huge, huge marker. He'd always say it was due to, like, you know, sleep deprivation or whatnot. I mean, looking back, it's like, God, I'm so stupid, but it is what it is.
No, that's why we're talking about this, though.
Yes. Like, I mean, it's just, to be honest, the only red flag you need is your gut. Because my gut has told me from the day I married this man, something was off. The day.
Do you think it goes back that far?
It 100% does. I found out from one of his rehab facilities. He started right after we got married.
Wow.
And I will never, ever ignore my gut ever again. Ever. I have broken off dates just for a gut instinct that something's off. No red flags. Gut. Come to find out, yup. Red flag. Your heart just knows. It's just accepting what your heart and gut already know and doing that. But if you have to ask, there's your answer. Always. Paying attention to your money, your income coming in, going out. Phone. God. Never left his phone face up. Ever. That man would sleep with his phone in his pocket. Always. I don't even know how he charged it, to be honest. Maybe he had a charger in his pants. I don't know.
It's terrible. You should patent that.
Yeah, right? I could never see his phone. You could forget it. Any phone calls he received, he'd always step outside the room. I've never heard him have a conversation with anybody. Oh, and keeping me apart from his family. Making sure we don't get along because
isolation. Yep.
Oh yes. When I found out and when I sent him away, his dad and I had a conversation one time, and I found out he had not gone to work in like 5 years.
That's what your mom
years.
told me, or told my mom. She was like, my mom goes, yeah, like apparently he would go to work every day for like 5 years, but he never really went to work. And she was like, how do you think she didn't catch on to that? I was like, well, he probably got dressed for work, got in his car with a briefcase, and then just didn't go.
That's exactly what happened. But like, how would I know? I mean, I don't go to his office. When I did go to his office, he was 100% there because it would be a coordinated effort. It wasn't like I'd just pop in. But yeah, like when I found that out, I told his dad, I'm like, and you didn't think to ask me where he is?
Right?
Like, that's
how did he answer that?
There's no answers on the other end, and there never will be. Accepting is a really hard thing for a lot of people, and a lot of people enable behaviors, and that's their side, and that's okay, because and I think that's probably why I was never really liked, because I'm very direct and like, no, this is a problem. What is it? And, you know, he comes from a family where you sweep it all under the rug. So, I mean,
right.
You could have like a knife stuck in the middle of your forehead and they would not dare bring that up because that'd be tacky.
Like, it's probably part of the problem, right? That it got so bad.
100%. Yes, because yeah. I mean, I think that's why I'm so upfront with my kids. Like, no, like if I fuss at her now, I could like scold her and she'll cry and she'll go in her room and she'll come back out 2 minutes later and she's already put it in Pandora's box. And I'm like, girl, bring me that box. We're opening it. You're going to tell me you're mad. Tell me you're upset. Tell me you're hurt. Tell me what it is you feel. And I tell her all the time, if you don't fix these problems now and we don't talk about it, you're going to not be able to grow up to be a healthy wife, mom, businesswoman, any of those things, because these things will then seep out when you're an adult.
And you don't unload on the people you love.
Correct.
Yep. It's a huge problem. I believe everyone in the world should be in therapy. At least once a quarter, just have a meeting with someone and talk about your problems, because people in general do not know how to process shit. Me included. No. Like, I'm not better than that.
It's so hard. It's hard. I mean, it's uncomfortable. I think every couple should be in marriage counseling, always.
Every couple. Always.
I don't care how great your marriage is. You're going to have tough times, and that is healthy. Like I said, I believe in marriages for better or for worse, but my situation, it was better for me to get out, and I don't regret that at all. But without my therapist, like, I found a great therapist here. That have helped me significantly tackle quite a bit in a short time. So it's been a huge blessing. Yeah.
So I know you've already touched on this, but how has this experience shaped you into a better person, a better mom, a better individual, a better daughter, a better sibling, specifically?
Gonna sound really selfish when I say it.
Probably not.
But it's just made me happier. It's made me value the people I truly love so much more. And it's made me really self-aware of, because I'm not going to lie, I was a problem in our marriage. I was not perfect by a mile. I never cheated. I didn't lie. I didn't steal. I didn't do drugs, drink. But I mean, I'm sure I irritated the shit out of him. I have my own baggage. Everybody does. But I feel like I have it's made me love myself a shit ton more and really respect myself way more than I ever thought I could. And it's been made me, I guess, less naive to the world too. I didn't realize how many things go on, and it's just made me really appreciate. I'm thankful for my battle with that. I'm thankful for my marriage to him. It gave me 2 beautiful children. But it's made me a really damn good mom. Really good mom. Like, I can fail at a lot of things, and I will. And I'm not a perfect mom, but God, I love my kids so hard. And I've learned to really put them before myself and be more self-aware of mental issues, and paying attention to how I parent them now is how they will grow up to be a healthy adult. And that's where addiction all stems from. Is usually not great parenting of some sort, and not even necessarily that parent has done something horribly wrong, but it could be so simple as the child doesn't feel heard or loved. And I think my kids probably think I probably go overboard with it, and I'm okay with that, because one day when they're older, they're going to be thankful that I care as much as I do, and as I put in as much time and work into them as I do, because I don't want, my girls coming from an addictive trait. I don't want them to go down that road. And I want them to feel heard and valued and loved and all these things, because they have 2 roads they can go down. And of course, every parent wants their child to succeed. That's a given. But it's definitely made me more intentional. I'll say that. I'm more intentional with basically everything I do.
Yeah, well, there's 2 points I want to add to that before we go. And that's one, I firmly believe that every single one of us is going to fuck up our kids. There's no getting around it. You are going, in some way, you are going to fuck up your kids. No matter how great of a parent you are. I think the important part, and this part sounds dumb, but try your best. But two, and this is something that I learned as a parent that I love my parents, but something that they could have done a little better was say sorry. Like, you screw up as a parent so much. And my parents did too. And that's perfectly fine. But I would get so angry at specifically my mom, and we would fight so bad. And that was because I thought my parents, when I was younger, had all the answers. Like, no matter the situation, they had the right answer. And if they didn't give it to me, it was because they chose not to. And it would piss me off. But now that I'm a parent, and I'm the oldest as well, I realize now they didn't know what the fuck they were doing at all. The entire time. Because I was the first kid, and I was a girl, and I pushed every boundary that they gave me to see how far I could take it. They were up to their forehead and shit with me. They would have just said that, right? If they would have just said that, like, Kendall, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm trying my best. I love you, and I am sorry. I am so sorry, but I will do better. And that, to me, is what I try to do in my parenting. Every time I yell at my kid out of frustration, I pull her, or I spank, even if it was a worthy spanking, I pull her aside. Sometimes we cry together, and I go, I love you so much. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I hope that when I fuck her up, she remembers, but she fucked me up this way, but she tried.
But she'll remember the caring and the compassion. So I've had to learn that recently in therapy for myself, for Violet. So I've learned that, imagine if you parented your children without thinking they were a direct reflection of yourself. Oh. And I thought, the fuck? No.
Say that again. I have to think that.
Well, so like, I remember having a fight with Violet recently over some jeans she put on, and they were short on her because she had a growth spurt. I grew up, we couldn't afford clothes throughout the year. You got them for like your birthday or Christmas. And
they're like, Bermudas now.
Right. I'm like, you can't wear those pants to school. And she loves these jeans, right? And she's like, why? And I'm like, because my thought process is people are going to make fun out of you. Like, they're going to pick on you. And I'm just trying to protect her little spirit. Well, her and I got in a fight about it that morning. And I went to my therapist and I was talking to her about it. And she was like, so you're afraid her friends are going to hurt her feelings, but what you did is you hurt her feelings. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to protect her from a really bad fashion choice. she's like, I would ask her if that hurt her feelings. So I came home and I said, Violet, did I hurt your feelings by asking or making that comment? And her whole face just dropped. She's like, yeah. And I'm like, so I explained to her why I did it. And she was like, but I care what you think and I don't care what others think. So your opinion, when you made that comment, it made me feel embarrassed. I'd rather my friends make fun of me than my mom. And I was like, oh God. And like, I wasn't making fun of her. I was just trying to protect her, but I felt like such an asshole. And so I'm learning to admit when I fail, and the grace my children give me is beautiful. Because
no one's going to give you more grace than your kids. No one's going to give you more grace than your babies.
God bless them, because it's hard to admit that you're wrong, especially to two small terrorists who like to attack you all the time. And they think that you have it together and you don't. And admitting when I'm wrong, it's like they love me even harder. And It's like they forget what I did or what I said or how I reacted, just to comfort me, because they see that I'm uncomfortable and admitting it. And I'm like, God, y'all are good people, because I don't deserve that grace sometimes.
But I feel like they're going to be more apt to come to you when they're wrong.
I hope so. Scarlett, she can't hide it to save her life. Violet, I mean, Violet is a little smarter than me. The kid's way smarter than I am.
Just to paint a picture, the first time I met Scarlett, she was probably, just turned 3 maybe? Just turned 3-ish? I moved here in the end of 2018. So she was 3-ish.
So she was 2.
She was 2. I walked in their house and she was carrying a baby doll. And I go, oh, is that your baby? And she goes, it's dead. And walks away. And I was like, oh.
Not much shit has changed.
And Christine was like, yeah, that's Scarlett. She's different.
She's so dry. That kid has a phenomenal sense of humor. Like,
oh my God, it's my favorite.
I wish I could take her to like anywhere with me, like that's hanging out with adults, because she's just so matter of factly. Like, what? Like, why would you do that?
The craziest shit, but there's no expression on her face. So you're like, she's joking, right? Like, I feel like there's so many times where I've been like, she's joking, right?
Nope. She is fierce as hell. So sweet though. Like, if she finds out she hurts your feelings, like she's devastated by that thought. Like, she never intends to hurt anybody, but she's just like, no. Like, she's very literal. So I was joking with Violet one day that Violet said she was cutting onions and it didn't make her cry. She was cutting them with her nanny. And I'm like, well, Violet, you're just heartless, because she made a comment about something else earlier. And Scarlett goes, Violet, when you put your hand right here, do you not feel anything?
Oh my God, I love that kid. I love that kid so much.
Like, she's so dry. And like yesterday, I said something and I was like, Violet, stop it. You're getting in my head. And Scarlett goes, yep, well, I can't because I'm too short. I can't get in her head. Like, she's just so fucking literal.
She is. I love it. I wish I could think of all the quotes that I have of Scarlett, but there was a point where I was like listing them. I was like, there's going to be a book and we're just going to have it shit Scarlett says. And it's going to be a bestseller because no one's going to believe a 2, 3, 4-year-old said this stuff.
Like, she's just, yeah.
She's awesome. Christine, if there's anyone going through a similar situation, what is the best way for them to contact you?
You can contact me email, on Instagram, and of course, if they are someone that you know and love, they are more than happy to text me. I'm always happy to help anybody going through this, because you have to have strong friends around you, or even just a listening ear. Like, I still say to this day, if I did not have you to just push me through, and you're like me, very like, you have to do this. You have to push through. You have to.
There was no option.
Right. And you told me that you
option.
don't have another option. And I'm like, I do though. I can just like lay down. And you're like, no, you cannot. Your future and your children's future depends on it. You have got to get through it. Figure it out. And if I had a Kindle in my corner, I feel like everybody should have a Kindle in their corner.
Thank you.
It's very, very important. Very important. And I'm always happy to help anyone, even just to listen. Sometimes you don't even need anybody to talk back. Just to hear your own thoughts out loud will sometimes give you the answers you need.
And can you spell out your email so that we can put it into the caption?
Yes, it's c.young1216@yahoo.
At Yahoo. And then your Instagram, please.
Oh, that is C Bougie, Bougie 1216. I have to think how to spell that.
Well, we all know the password to everything in your life now.
Nailed it. You could go in and pay my bill.
216, y'all. I'm gonna pay her electricity bill. You know how to get it. Okay, and that is our episode today with my good friend Christine. I cannot wait to see you. We do have to plan a trip soon.
Yes.
Why are you awake, Scarlett?
What's wrong with you? You moving my earphones, it doesn't stop anything.
Can I have a kiss? You
want to give Miss Kindler a kiss? Look, don't kiss it. Your hair.
That hair. That
right?
hair. Did you brush your teeth?
Did you brush your teeth?
Yeah. That breath looks hot. That breath looks hot.
Everything on that looks hot.
I'm going to cut it off here. If you would like to.
Some strawberries.
Yes, I'll get you some in a minute. She wants strawberries.
No, I already got some.
Oh, you already got some. That's why you look like you mangled a deer.
That's our on Failure Friday. I hope everyone has a blessed night, and we'll see you next week.